Hey guys, what I thought we'd do today is I just want to show you how I clean my pellet grills. There's two different cleanings that I do. One is a pretty in-depth cleaning where I'm going to try and get all the grease and stuff that's on the walls and whatnot off of there and burn it out. And then the other cleaning that I do is one that's more of a maintenance cleaning that I do pretty regularly. Anytime I have a big smoke or something like that, I'll do that more regularly. Today, we're going to do this big heavy-duty cleaning. And the reason for that is I just got this pellet grill. It's a GMG Jim Bowie. This was a friend of mine's, and they don't use it anymore. And it was pretty messy, so I thought, well, maybe this will be a good time to show you guys how I do my big cleaning. I usually do this type of cleaning at least a couple times a year, once in the fall and once in the spring. It just depends on how I'm using my smoker. If you're grilling a lot, you're going to get oil everywhere, and that's gonna require probably more cleaning than if you're just smoking. So anyway, we'll get started with that. All right, so let's start by taking a look in here and seeing just what it looks like. I mean, it's pretty filthy. There's a lot of grease all in here on the grill grates. You can see down below the drip tray is just totally caked. Luckily, there was aluminum foil on there, so that won't be too bad. And then all on the inside here at the top, there's creosote that could fall down on the food here. You can see. So we just want to get all of that off. So what I do is I only use three things. I use this brush, a 1-inch putty knife, and that can usually get into everything. And then I also use a brush here, and I like to use these brushes that don't have the metal bristles on them. This has like I don't know if it's a hard nylon or what, but they're really big. They're easy to see. They don't break off, and if one does come out of there, then you know you're not going to get somebody sick because you'll be able to see it pretty easily. So usually what I like to do is just start by scraping off the grill here. The grill's cold, it's not hot at all. Just get any loose stuff that's on here to fall down into that drip tray. I'll do both the front and the back of these grills. Okay, I brushed both sides. Now what we're going to do is take everything out of here. We'll get these grates out of here first. Then what we're going to do next is get this filthy thing out of here. Okay, and finally we want to get this diffuser out of here. Oh, it's the first time we're seeing down in here. I did test this unit and it's running just fine. No issues with how it runs. So now what I want to do is I want to take this this 1-inch deal here, and I'm going to go through here and I'm going to scrape all of this oil that's on here off of all the surfaces that are on here. I want to get as much of this off because one of the processes that I like to use is to burn off all the oil, residual oil and stuff. But when it's really dirty like this, there's a risk that you can have a fire and the whole thing will go up in flames. So I want to try and get as much of this out. So what I'm going to do is just run that putty knife on every single surface and every single channel here, like this, above the top, and just break everything down and have it come down here to the bottom into this these ashes. And then I'll use the shop vac to vacuum everything out. So let me get to scraping. Okay guys, there it is. Step one is done. And look at that. We got a beautiful sunset here tonight. Getting ready to come down. The lid is all scraped off. Everything on the inside is scraped off and vacuumed out. Real nice. You want to be sure that you get up here. That's an important spot. Your sides and all these channels down in here and these channels at the back, even underneath all of that. You want to get underneath all of that. You can see here, I vacuumed out everything down here in the bottom, but this cup, this is just the oil and grease that was stuck to the sides that I pulled off with a putty knife. So, so this thing is ready to go. Before I clean this, I thought it'd be important to explain why it's so important to keep these drip trays clean. So the first reason is, as you can see, it's really kind of piled up right here and there's less over here. What happens is this stuff right here, all this grease and oil and food crap that kind of gets down on here, it acts as an insulator. And over time, the grill will have more and more trouble having good heat dispersion from end to end. And what'll happen is you'll start using it. There'll be a cold spot, you know, that you're trying to grill on, and it's going to take longer for it to come up to temp. You're going to burn more pellets, and eventually what you're going to do is subconsciously is you're going to start cooking right over the burn pot. And you can see that's exactly what's happened here. This is about right where the burn pot is. It's not in the middle, it's off to the side just a little bit. And so they started cooking right over the burn pot, and it kind of perpetuates the process. Now you're cooking over the burn pot, trying to get to the hottest part when you're searing or trying to cook a burger or something. More grease kind of gets down, and you create more insulation, and to you, you're thinking, oh shoot, you know, this thing's not getting hot enough. So that's one reason to keep this thing clean. The second reason is, as this builds up on here, it's going to start sooting. It's underneath all of this. It's going to start kind of burning and boiling off some of that grease, and you're going to get this soot. I really can't show you underneath here, but if I just run my hands underneath, you'll see here, look at that, all that soot. That's all soot there, and that's grease and stuff. That's not ash, that's grease, and that is kind of smoldering underneath here, and that soot's getting on your food. It's getting all inside the grill, and it's perpetuating the problem. So that's the second issue, is you're going to have bad tasting food when you cook on a unit like this, where you're trying to cook at a high temperature and that grease just keeps piling up, and you get this kind of insulation that's going on right underneath it. And the third reason is pretty obvious. Because you're trying to run it at higher temperatures and it takes longer for it to go up, your risk for a fire increases dramatically. And the next thing you know, you've got, you know, just this big roaring fire within your unit. If that ever happens to you, just close the lid, turn off the unit. You just got to wait for it to go off. If you can get the food off, get the food off. But that's the other reason why you want to do this. So you guys can see I've got everything back in. The diffuser's down there, the drip tray's in there. I've got these grills in upside down for the burn process. Next, I'm going to turn my attention to these pellets. I'm going to take all these pellets out of the hopper and put fresh ones in. I just want to show you right here on the left. See this bigger one? And then this one's a little bit skinnier. What's happened here is this this bigger one has taken on humidity, so it's swollen, and this fresh one here is still dry. So when you see them swollen like that, it's probably a good idea to get them out of there. It won't burn as hot with the swollen ones, because they'll be cooling themselves as they go. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and replace the pellets, and then we'll get started with the burn off. All right, team, we're just about ready to go here. This thing has just kind of gotten started up. I'm just going to turn it all the way up to the highest setting for the burn off here. I think it's going to be like 550, maybe 500, something like that. Okay, 500. Okay, we're going to let that come up to temp. 500 is, you know, it's kind of borderline searing, but it'll get hot enough. Eventually what's going to happen is over the course of, and this is going to take a while, it's going to take like 3, maybe even 4 hours, as dirty as this one was, and you want to make sure that you've got pellets in here, but over the next 3 or 4 hours it'll really smoke, and then it'll kind of stop smoking, and then about the time that it kind of stops smoking, you've got most of the interior burned off. So I'll come back here in just a minute, and we'll take a look at it when it's all the way up to temp and it's really kind of burning off. Okay, there we go. We're at 500 degrees. I've been here for about an hour. It's starting to smoke pretty good now. We'll just keep letting that do that until it stops smoking. It's about 2 weeks later now. I got really busy and didn't get this done, but to sum up, you know, we burned this off. I actually burned 2 full pellets in here, and you can see I let it run completely empty down in the auger section. Normally it takes a whole deal, but this had a lot of grease on it, so in the end I decided to go ahead and run it twice, because it was still smoking after the full pellet hopper was done. So now we're going to use this brush here, and we're going to scrape all the sides and get all that dust off of there. We'll also vacuum the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and take these 2 grates out first, and the shield here that's on the bottom, the drip tray, and that deflector shield that's on the bottom. I'll take all that out. We'll scrub it all with just this dry, and then I'll vacuum everything out, So we've completely vacuumed this out. The auger, I blew some air down there to get it out too, so this is all clean. We've cleaned everything in here, scrubbed all the sides, and got that looking real good. Also under the diffuser plate, the pot's all cleaned out real nice. One thing that we still have to do here is we got to clean this temperature sensor, the probe right there. If you keep this is one of the things you absolutely have to keep clean. You got to keep the drip tray clean, and you got to keep that temperature probe clean. So I'll just use a little Scott Brite pad here, and we'll get that cleaned up. So I'll do that now. I have also cleaned the grill grates, so those are all brushed down and good, and the drip tray's all clean front and back. And I will line it with this extra wide Reynolds wrap. One of these will fit over it, and I'll actually put 2 layers. And so later on I can pull 1 layer off between cleanings and go. So let me get all this together and that probe cleaned, and let's get a good look at it. So there you go. This thing is super clean. I will do this type of cleaning, like I said, twice a year, once in the spring, once in the fall. This one was exceptionally dirty, so it took a little bit longer. You can see the temperature gauge right there. It's brass on this one, which is interesting. You want to keep that super clean. The oils and grease and dirt will get on there. It will insulate it. And from cook to cook, your temperatures will be a little bit different. So you might be thinking you're cooking at 225, and it's actually cooking at 210, or you might set it at 250 and it's really running 225. So you'll get these temperature variances, and you're like, oh, last time it only took this long, but it's taken this long. And so anyway, something to keep in mind. Oh, one more thing I wanted to mention here. So I generally don't clean the outside of these things. I just leave them like this. I don't even cover them. But if you want to, you can use your Scotch Brite pad here and just lightly rub, and that will kind of get most of that dirt off. That's how I generally will clean the outside if I want to just break down some dirt. But I like to leave it a little bit dirty and oily on the outside, because that helps protect it from rust. Not real oily and dirty, but just lightly, dirty, and that kind of helps it. Even on the inside, if we don't get 100% of the oil off, that's okay. We just don't want to create a fire hazard. Do keep your grill clean. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, share, and subscribe. And on a future video, we'll be putting in some new seals on here and getting this all ready to go.